So I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in an amazing family. Rarely an issue. I know some families aren't like that, but there always will be an occasional argument or somebody doing something that somebody doesn't agree with, or in the kind of worst case scenario, a woman cheats on her husband or vice versa. Obviously, it can be a very disrespectful thing to do to your spouse, but at the end of the day, is it worth killing them over it? I would say a firm no. I would say just pack your bag and get out of there. But this man in Texas had a different thought on this.
Fatally shot his wife, but was sentenced to only 10 years in prison. Now there's anger at the all-female jury.
It's a chilling moment as a husband driven mad with jealousy stands in his driveway. 60-year-old Carrie Birmingham is wearing only a robe.
You really want this on video?
I'll pull it. I'm mad enough to just pull it.
All right, let's stop for a second. Look, this is an unfortunate video and an unfortunate circumstance, but I think it's important to talk about what I would do. I'm really interested to hear what y'all would do, because when this is family, I think it adds a different element of self-defense and just logic, because it's not some random person holding a gun at you. It's your husband, it's your son, it's whatever it is. And unfortunately, this stuff happens. It's pretty rare, but it happens.
Audio we obtained of several minutes prior to the video became a large part of Carrie's crime of passion defense.
I'm done.
I'm done too.
I'm done.
I'm done too.
Carrie had allegedly learned Patricia was having an affair, the two's argument getting more and more heated.
Don't blame him.
Then get the f*** out.
Carrie's defense attorney, Anthony Osso, says they pled guilty directly to the all-female jury. He says their strategy was to accept responsibility, but convince jurors Carrie shot Patricia in the heat of the moment.
We never tried to justify the actions of our client, but the defense wasn't about justification. It was about why he did what he did.
So my first question, if this woman was still with us, is recording it and not finding cover or finding a gun or pulling your own gun really that important? The reason why I say that is for two reasons. One, the guy could be bluffing, right? People pull their guns all the time to prove a point or to try to be intimidating. I 100% don't agree with that, because if you find the guy who's calling your bluff, then your ego is going to come into play and you're going to have to fight that ego not to shoot him. But at the same time, this guy sounds like he is completely sauced.
I'm mad enough to just pull it.
I'm man enough to do it. There's absolutely nothing manly about this. In fact, it's the complete opposite. I don't believe that men should be over emotional. I don't believe that men should be more emotionally based in terms of their thinking rather than logic. And in this situation, yeah, dude, it sucks that your wife cheated on you. But there are other women out there. You have a vehicle. You can pack your truck and send her papers and be done with it. But obviously there are situations where it's not that simple. I think this is the absolute last thing that anybody should do.
Your neighbors are going to see you pointing a gun at me.
All right, goodbye, Reese. You doing me?
The motive for shooting his wife? He says he was in a state of rage because he had learned his wife was allegedly having an affair. But her family says that's simply not true.
So, from what it sounds like, she didn't think that he was going to do it. She was getting it on video because, I don't know. But she's worried about the neighbors in this situation. So, one definite point that I think people can take from this is that if somebody is pointing a gun at you, I would fully expect that they plan on pulling the trigger and killing you. Because one of the first rules of firearm safety is don't point a gun at something that you're not willing to destroy. So I would assume that everybody who owns a gun knows that, and they're planning to destroy you if they're pointing it at your head.
Olivia finds her father's defense questionable at best.
I don't know. That sudden passion. You have to have something. You have to have made that decision within you for a while. I feel like to do that to somebody you really, really love.
But the question that I have for everyone is, what would you have done in this situation? Obviously, it's hard to think about your spouse, so remove that aspect and just think of it as a person that you know well. For me, I know what I would do. I would try to create some kind of distraction, get them talking a little bit, and then pull my gun and do what I have to do. Because if you're to the point where you're doing that, and I don't care if you're out of your mind on drugs or drunk or whatever, you are now a threat to me in my life, and I'm going to act accordingly. But the question becomes in this situation, what happens if you shoot the person? especially somebody close to you. Most likely, you're going to be charged with something. There is a very rare amount of cases nowadays where you can shoot somebody in self-defense and the police show up, they look at it and they say, oh, okay, oh, self-defense, you're good. Unless it's on video, unless there are a bunch of witnesses that are 100% supportive of you and your story, you're most likely going to get arrested. That is why it is so important to have an attorneys on retainer membership. For those of you who've been following me for a while, I am 100% supportive of these guys because they have changed the self-defense coverage industry. The biggest point about them is they are not insurance-based. They are not bound by the law to say, well, we can cover this, but we can't cover this. That being said, you can't go rob a bank and then call them and say, hey, I want to use you guys to defend me at no cost. It doesn't work like that. It has to be a reasonable self-defense claim. You can't just go murder people and think that you're going to be covered with this. That being said, they cover you even if you weren't allowed to own the gun. If it happened in a gun-free zone, they cover it. Even if you were impaired by drugs or alcohol, they will cover you if it's self-defense. If it was a domestic dispute, and even if it was a negligent or accidental discharge of your firearm. The list goes on, but ultimately, the difference between these guys and an insurance-based program is they don't have all of the exclusions like these other companies have. So, they cover you all the way through trial, they have bail coverage, and they do not have a recoupment clause, which means if you take a deal or you're found guilty, they're not asking for all their money back. So, Attorneys on Retainer is the fastest growing self-defense coverage in the nation. For our people watching, they're giving you $50 off to sign up. This is by far the best self-defense coverage out there. Go join the Attorneys on Retainer family. So to conclude here, obviously this is a horrible situation. There is something interesting that these people said in this video though.
Woman's sister, Mary Dees, says the family was shocked at the jury's decision.
I believe that they were judging my sister, that my sister did not beg for her life, and she stood strong against a man that supposedly loved her for 20 years and, killed her, executed her.
I think that's an interesting point. I don't know how you can really judge a person based off of them pleading for their life or not. I think it was honestly kind of odd that she was sitting there holding the camera instead of finding cover or running or something like that. But then again, she may not have thought that he was actually going to do it. I think she was calling his bluff. And unfortunately, especially if the person seems like they're drunk or something else, that's probably not a good call. So I'm super curious to find out what y'all would have done in this situation if someone close to you was pointing a gun at you.